Hello everyone, good day. So in this video, I'm going to discuss the assigned topic about sources and flight of campus news and essential of news. But before that, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mr. Giffoni Noel Igot, BS in English 3L from Group 2. To start with, sources of news in journalism and importance of news sources according to Sam Ren Sagher. Okay, so anything that provides news information for a period of time is said to be a news source. News sources can be a moving person or still it documents, such as people who have witnessed the crime would come to the news, or source or documents found at suicide crime spot would be considered as a news source. There are several news sources such as official documents, governmental offices, witnesses of the crime scene, the victim itself, and etc. So news sources are required for both the journalists and for the audiences. Here are going to discuss the news of sources for both. News sources, definition and importance, types. In earlier days, many rulers used the technique of drumbeat to convey their message through different people or his officials, and many rulers carved their messages on the walls or rocks to deliver their message. Later, in the modern world, all these news sources are eliminated and then press took new elements of news sources. In today's world, we can see there are totally different news sources, such as televisions, radio, press release, press conference, newspaper, press interview, institutions such as hospitals, schools, colleges, police stations, and etc. These are the news sources which are prominent in today's time. Number one, radio. It is an audio medium used by many in today's time. We can see people are relying on radio as a source of information. Radio is prominent and seen in both rural and urban areas. People in rural who cannot afford television rely on radio as it is cheap. If we talk about urban areas where we do not see many using radio and in their houses, instead, they listen in their cars. Over decades, radio has gained popularity and it's said is a good source of news. Next, we have television. Television telecasts their news on television through which other newspaper takes their sources. It is said to be the most authentic source of news, as it has a visual to establish the authenticity. Television helps and provides newspapers to give detailed information to the audience, but television news just doesn't act as the source of the newspaper, but also the audience itself. Next, we have press release. Press release are generally used for the release of a particular news. And then the press release should contain worthwhile material which has some news value. A press release should be written in a journalistic style and provide facts and information of interest to the readers, and should cover all aspects of specific subject. The release should be on current subject and a piece of clear writing without any ambiguity, color or ornamentation, but it should at the same time not to be generally lengthy. Next, we have press notes. The press notes are less formal in character. These are also used unimportant official matters, raising or lowering of tariff rates, price, fixation of food grains, subsidy announcement of seeds, fertilizer, and etc. Apart from the name of department, place, and date, a press note mentions headings. Unlike the press communicate, the newspaper can edit or condense the press notes. And then we have handouts. The handouts are issued on a variety of subjects like the day-to-day activities of the ministry or departments, VIP speeches, questions and answers in parliament or legislature, and the developmental progress of government's departments. It covers the name of the PIV or Information Department. No official handout is issued if the minister or a government official has spoken in his personal capacity. Newspapers and magazines. These two also act as a good source of news. Newspaper on both the level national and international provides the best information in details. The newspaper has 5 W's and a 1 H, which gives all the significant information at the starting of the news and further deals with the minor details. And the same is done in a magazine. Next, we have the press statement. The statements are usually given by known people. Then he shares his statement with media and later this becomes a press statement. Lastly, we have police station. Every event which is of a big concern to the police station would be firstly found in the police station. If the reporter wants to know about a crime scene, he would get first-hand information from there.
Hello everyone, I'm going to report about the elements of news that have 10 elements, which are the timeliness, proximity, impact, prominence, drama, oddity, conflict, suspense, emotion, and progress. So the timeliness, if something happening now or it has more impact than something what happened yesterday or last week. Often the most recent development is the feature of the story, and for example this as the showbiz balita or the newspaper. So the second element is proximity. This has to do with the location. If the event is happening close by, it will impact your reader more than if it is happening across town or across the world, and all other consideration being equal. So the example this is accident areas. Impact, what is happening affects a lot of people. Example for this impact like pandemic. The impact of the story quickly establishes like the importance of the piece to the reader. It also inherently explains the consequences of the news itself, and impact simply put is showing relevancy to the people affected by the story or event. Um, the greater the number of people affected, the greater the impact. This value, like approximately, is largely determined by audience. So prominence, example, these TV personalities, celebrities, or influencers. Prominence, importance, or fame, people who are important or well known, they draw more interest than people who are not. For example, if I hit a hole in one golfing, it probably won't even make the local newspaper. And if the president or a celebrity hits a hole in one, it will be on the front pages around the nation. Around the nation, that's because the president or the celebrity is a prominent, and I'm not. Drama, example of this like a famous personalities who broke up because of a third party. Readers are really interested about people are drawn to interested in one dramatic. This doesn't mean fictional drama like on a television, but in a real life, this real life drama. Oddity, things that are unusual or weird or strange are also interesting. Or if something happens for the first time, last time or only time, it is odd and therefore newsworthy. For example, these astronomical events, because astronomical events is unusual happen. Conflict is a fight or disagreement. It can be violent or non-violent. War, shootings, or political disagreements are all examples. Uh, this is political views. So the suspense, people need a reason to keep reading, and can you create a cliffhanger or leave your readers wanting more? For example of this, ganang, famous personalities who broke up because of the third party. Emotion elements of news, commonly called human interest. These are the stories that make the reader feel an instant emotion. Like a baby elephant is born, that make us say, "Oh, that's so cute," and makes us feel warm and fuzzy. Example of this, newborn babies of celebrities. Progress, it involves any significant change for the betterment of humanity. It may also refer to an achievement in the laboratory industry or a legislative body, etc. And example like road progress, especially when the budget are from the government. Journalism first obligation is to the truth. Journalists should be as transparent as possible about sources and methods so the audience can make their own assessment of the information. Even in a world of expanding voices, accuracy is the foundation upon which everything else is built: context, interpretation, comment, criticism, analysis, and debate. The truth over time emerges from this forum as citizens encounter on ever greater flow of data. We have more need, not less, for identifiable sources dedicated to verifying that information and putting it on context. Truth is more than mere accuracy, rather they assert that journalism present truth in such a way that it sifts through and filters information flow from the initial event to the public ears. In this way, journalism is a tool through which the necessary truth for daily interaction and cooperation are disseminated. Ultimately, journalism that only presents facts and purely objective information is not enough to guide the complex and fragmented society of today. Making sense of the fact is a necessary goal for journalists as they seek to present truth to the public. In this way, the individuals are then handed the responsibility of making an educated decision based on the organized news. In this way, that journalists are instrumental in setting forth the societal norms, mores, and codes by which individuals cooperate and work with each other in a larger community. Second principle, its first loyalties to the citizens. This commitment to citizens first is the basis of a news organization's credibility, and the implied covenant that tells the audience the coverage is not slanted for friends or advertisers. Commitment to citizens also means that the journalisms it should represent representative pictures of all the constituent groups in a society. And ignoring certain citizens has the effect of disfranchising them. The theory underlying the modern news industry has been the belief that credibility builds a broad and loyal audience, and that economic success follows in turn. In that regard, the business people in a news organization also must nurture, not exploit, their allegiance to the audience ahead of other considerations. The third principle, its essence is the discipline of verification. Journalists rely on a professional discipline for verifying information, and when the concept of objectivity originally evolved, and it did not imply that journalists are free of bias. It called rather for a consistent method of testing information, like a transparent approach to evidence, precisely so that the personal and cultural biases would not undermine the accuracy of their work, and the method is objective, not the journalist. They seeking out of like multiple witnesses to disclosing the as much as possible about the sources. For principle, its practitioners must maintain own independence from those they cover. This is the fourth principles, and independence is an like underlying requirement of journalism. Um, Cornerstone of its reliability, independence of spirit and mind, rather than neutrality. It is the principle journalists must keep in focus, while editorialists and commentators are not neutral. The source of their credibility is still their accuracy and intellectual fairness and ability to inform, not their devotion to a certain group or outcome. So, in our independence, however, we must avoid any tendency to stray into arrogance, elitism, isolation, or nil. It must serve as an independent monitor of power. That is the fifth principle. And journalism has an unusual capacity to serve as like watching dog over those whose power and position most affect citizens. Uh, the founders recognized this to be a rampart against despotism when they ensured an independent press. Courts have affirmed it, citizens rely on it. The journalists have an obligation to protect this watchdog freedom by not demeaning it and like frivolous use of exploiting it for commercial gain. It must provide a forum for public criticism and compromise. That is the sixth principles. The news media are like the common carriers of public discussion, and this responsibility form a basis for our special privileges. This discussion serves society best when it is informed by facts rather than prejudice and supposition. Um, it also should strive to fairly represent the varied viewpoints and interests in society, and to place them in context rather than highlight only the conflicting fringe of debate. Accuracy and truthfulness requires that as framers of the public discussion, we not neglect the point of common ground where the problem solving occurs. It must strive to make the significant interesting and relevant. So, journalism is storytelling with a purpose, and it should do more than gather an audience or catalog the important. For its own survival, it must balance what readers know they want with what they cannot anticipate but need. In short, it must strive to make the significant, interesting, and relevant. The effectiveness of a piece of journalism is like measured both by how much a work engages its audience and enlightens it.
Hi, I am Ina Marie Anadon, and we will be discussing about the inverted pyramid structure in news, types of news, and the lead. Now, let us talk about the inverted pyramid structure in news. What is it all about, and what are the things that are happening inside the pyramid? And how does this help the journalists pave their way to a better strategy in writing the news article? Making people wait and search all the way to the bottom of the news article can cause them to switch their attention. Persuasion is one of the toughest aspects of content writing, especially given the current attention span of the readers. Have you ever wondered what makes us read a news article? There are four reasons for it. 1. Our interest in the topic. 2. The headline of the news article. 3. The author's authority in the topic. And 4th, the depth of information in the article. Now, these are the four things we are going to consider in writing our news article. The inverted pyramid of content writing is used by journalists to write content and present the key takeaways in an article upfront to the readers. Information in the inverted pyramid should be presented in descending order of importance. The inverted pyramid is divided by three parts. The base, or the first part, is the lead, second is the body, and third is the less important details, or the end at the pinnacle of the pyramid. Let us talk about the lead. The lead has two things, which are the heading and the lead. The heading basically is the text printed in large letters that grabs the attention of the readers. These are also called the titles of our news article. The opening paragraph of the introduction graph of the news story is called the lead. The lead contains the most important information, which answers the questions who, what, when, where, why, and how. So, how long is the lead, by the way? The leads are often one sentence or two. They are and should be 25 to 30 words and should rarely be more than 40. In news writing, paragraphs are short so as to set in newspaper columns. Shorter paragraphs are more likely to keep the attention of the readers. And then, let's move on to the body. The body contains the argument, controversy, issue, and story. In a more layered inverted pyramid structure, the body has two things. It has the nut graph and the copy. The nut graph builds more context to the story. It sets the tone and the direction of the story. The nut graph delivers a promise of the story's content and message. No matter how compelling the lead is, the nut graph should always be the reader's purpose of investing time. The nut graph, by the way, should make the readers see what all the fuss is about and get a chance or grasp of why the story matters. Second is the copy. The copy is the main body of the article that contains text, visuals, data, and etc. The body of the story involves combining the opinions of the people you interview, some factual data that helps the story flow. The last thing is the end, or the kicker. It is the last point in the news article that signals a conclusive end. It will be at the peak of the inverted pyramid with the facts or incidents of least value. And to add things, conclusion should be intended to provoke interest in, editorialize about, or provide orientation for the matter in the copy heads. Most news reports follow the kiss and tell formula. Keep it short and simple, or keep it simple, stupid. Now, let us proceed to the types of news. There are two types of news, hard news and soft news. The most basic distinction of news types is dichotomous. Hard news is usually in regards to politics, economics, and social matters, while soft news focuses on entertainment. Hard news is characterized as having a high level of newsworthiness, demanding immediate publication due to its importance and short lifespan,
while soft news does not necessitate timely publication. Hard news is defined and categorically as being serious, important, and male, whereas soft news is defined as human interest, lifestyle, and purview of women readers. And hard news is also presented in newspapers and news magazines, either in print or television, devoting to public interest. This dichotomy is not merely a matter of semantics. It constitutes the basis of many journalism studies regarding both media production and audience research. Journalists and editors, of course, do not work with a soft or hard news score sheet, but rather subconsciously juggle in their minds all sorts of criteria in their journalistic decision-making process. The more criteria that are involved, the greater the chance that a mental juggle involves a decision to write or publish an item despite its lacking some criteria while having others, thus leading to a broad category we call here general news.
Let's move on to the last topic, which is the lead. The lead, or lead again, is an opening paragraph that gives the audience the most important information of the news story in a concise and clear manner while still maintaining the reader's interest. There are two common types of leads: the summary lead or a creative or descriptive lead. The summary lead is the trusty inverted pyramid lead we learned about. It sums up the situation succinctly, giving the reader the most important facts first. While the creative or descriptive lead, this can be an anecdote, an observation, a quirky fact, or a funny story, among other things. It is better suited to feature stories and blog posts. These leads are designed to pique readers' curiosity and draw them into the story. Now, there are two broad categories of leads: the indirect and direct lead.
If the essence of the story is on the consequences of an event, an analysis form of the direct lead is in order. It takes one step back from the event itself, provides perspective on a simple fact, and lets us know its implications. If direct leads get straight to the point, indirect leads do the opposite. Rather than telling us about an event or its implications, indirect leads can zoom in to pick out a single detail, character, or quote. It could be one detail of a crime scene, a shattered glass on a sidewalk, say, or a single character in a drama. It could be an anecdote, which is in effect a story within the story that expands outward. If you have a truly riveting quote and questions, it's a candidate for a lead. When considering what kind of lead to use, ask yourself these questions. If the story or an issue you're about in writing, does it need a bigger picture, or does it need a bigger picture? Or is it appealing if you only focus the person at the center, or does it have the need to tell the whole event itself? Borrowing a literary tactic is a whole on a different level of writing your news article. Every good story has three elements: a hero we relate to, a challenge or villain we fear, and an ensuing struggle. Find these elements in the story you are writing and lead with one of those.
Number 8. Sources and citation in news writing. In journalism, a source is a person, publication, or knowledge, other record or document that gives timely information. And outside journalism, a source are sometimes known as news sources. And these are the sources of a campus news writing: office, department, library, school calendar, invitation and memos, different clubs and organizations, sports teams, students and teachers, and community. To cite an article from a newspaper, you need an in-text citation and a reference listing the author, the publication date, the article's title, the name of the newspaper, and a URL if it was accessed online. Different citation styles present this information differently. The main styles are APA, MLA, and Chicago style. Citing a newspaper article in APA style. In an APA style newspaper article reference, the article title is in plain text with sentence style capitalization. The name of the newspaper in italic with headline capitalization, and include a URL if the article was accessed online. And this is the format of an APA style. First, author's last name, initials, year, month, day, article title, newspaper name, and the URL. Second, citing a newspaper article in MLA style. An MLA works cited entry for a newspaper article lists the article title in quotation marks and the name of the newspaper in italic. A URL is listed at the end of an article consulted online. The in-text citation for an online newspaper articles consists solely of the author's last name, and this is the format for an MLA style. First is the author's last name, first name, article title with a quotation mark, newspaper name, day, month, year, and the URL if it was accessed online. Third is citing a newspaper article in Chicago style. So Chicago style recommends just citing newspaper articles in footnotes, omitting them from the bibliography in most cases. However, if you need a bibliography entry for a newspaper article, list the article title in quotation marks and the name of the newspaper in italic. You should also include a URL at the end for online articles. And no page range is included in Chicago style because articles are frequently split across non-consecutive pages. You also don't include a page number in the footnote. So this is the format for a Chicago style. Author's last name, first name, the article title with a quotation mark, newspaper name, month, day, year, and the URL if it was accessed online. And lastly, writing the actual news article. Number 1, choose your topic. First, you must decide what to write about. Sometimes an editor or instructor will give you what you will write, but it's still your choice or idea whatever you want to write down on your article. Second, research for your news article. You should begin with research, using books and articles that will give you a full understanding of the subject. Or you can go to the library and find background information about people, organizations, and events you intend to cover. If it's possible, you can also interview some people with backgrounds in the topic and have a strong opinions and carefully write down or record their response for accuracy. And of course, you should let the interviewers know that you will be quoting them on your article. Third, parts of a news article. First, the headline or title. It should be catchy and on point. Second, the byline. It indicates the name of the author of an article. Third is the lead. The first sentence or paragraph written to provide a preview of the entire article. It summarizes the story and includes many of the basic facts. The lead will help readers decide if they want to read the rest of the news article or if they are satisfied knowing these details. The first sentence of a news article informing the reader of who, where, what, when, and sometimes how and why. And lastly, the body. The body includes all the details of the news story. Once you've created the lead, give the reader more information in the body of the article. This is your opportunity to elaborate on what else you know about the story.